Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 18 of Petty Please. Before we get into our pettiness for today, just our usual housekeeping. Please remember to engage with the content to help the channel grow. If you are listening on podcast, please leave a 5-star review, follow to be notified when I post new episodes, and share it with a friend if you enjoyed the content. If you are watching on YouTube, please like the episode, subscribe for more, press the bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video, leave your comments on your thoughts on the stories down below, and share it with a friend. Alright, story number 1 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. This one is labeled as a what would you do vent rant. I think my neighbor is obsessed with watching me. I moved into my apartment building about 6 months ago, and everything's been fine except for one thing. My neighbor directly across from me seems way too interested in what I'm doing. I started noticing little things at first, like her curtains would open just a few inches every time I opened my door. Then it turned into her actually standing in her doorway when I come home, pretending to check her mail or sweep the hallway or something, always just kind of watching. The weirdest part is when I take my trash out or sit on the balcony. I'll catch her filming me with her phone like it's nothing. She doesn't even try to hide it anymore. I once waved at her and she didn't even flinch, just kept holding her phone up. She's also complained to our building manager about noise, even though I'm barely home and don't have guests over. It feels less like she's bothered by something and more like she's collecting reasons to cause drama. I've tried being polite. I've tried ignoring it, but now it's creeping me out. She gives me the same look people give wild animals they're waiting to attack. Not sure if I should involve management again or just let it be, but it's getting harder to feel comfortable in my own place. Ooh, this is super creepy. If you already involved management and they didn't do anything, I don't know that I would go that route again. I mean, I feel like this would fall into stalker behavior. So I would go ahead and contact your local police department to file a report on stalker surveillance. And if they say it's not enough for them to document or something, then go back to management. But the police department should be willing to document this, since you're saying that it is like continued surveillance. But yeah, that's more reasons to not have neighbors. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Bully neighbor demands I empty my bin because hers is full. This one is labeled event/rant. Edit. Hi everyone, I was just hoping to get a laugh out of everyone who reads this. So if you were wanting to give advice, I really appreciate it, but it's alright, you don't have to worry. My solution is just to not answer the door to her anymore. My headphones are louder than her knocks. Also, if you were wondering, I can't install a Ring camera device on my door as I need to get permission, and this neighbor isn't worth the hassle. She'd also probably say no for obvious reasons. It's a long read, but the gist is, she wants to use my bin, and she's a bit of a bam. Anyways, thanks for the advice if you gave it, and have a good day. I'm at that stage now with this neighbor where I know exactly who is knocking on my door just from the sound and pace of the knock. It's always the same 3 loud pings followed by another 3 before I've even gotten out of my desk chair. I'm convinced she thinks if she knocks faster, then I'll somehow spontaneously appear right in front of it, ready to sniff her arse and wipe it for her. I've had a lot of problems with just her since I moved in 2 years ago. Everything from reasonable misunderstandings to unreasonable noise complaints that she will never take to the council, as I suggested, because she knows she's full of shite. To rage-fueled comments about my lifestyle, coming home quietly at 3 a.m. after drinks in the city, or having the audacity to say no when she asked me to contribute to the private gardener she didn't need to hire. We live in a shared garden 4 in a block council building that has a maintenance service charge already applied to the rent. And I don't use the garden, so I'm not daft enough to cough up 20 pounds a month for her unwillingness to cut the grass herself. Hell, I'd even cut it if she wasn't so rotten inside and out. There's one neighbor here I'm very pally with, who I'll just call D. She's literally so scared of this witch that she said she'd meet me down the street where we can't be heard by her just to have a vent about her over all aggressive attitude and aura. I feel sad she feels she even needs to do that. I used to be a little scared of her myself until I grew up a bit and realized I can either live a normal life or be afraid of my own breath in case she hears it slightly too late at night. I can easily ignore most of her nonsense and usually calmly let her know I don't agree and probably won't listen if she keeps raising her voice. But today I almost couldn't comprehend what she was trying to order me to do. You've put recycling in your waste bin. It's full, and I need you to empty it because none of us have any space in our bins for rubbish. What? Not only is the waste in my bin not recyclable, it's my bloody bin. And it's full because that's how limited capacity works. I told her calmly, if not a bit fed up, that she's wrong, and it is in fact waste. Her follow-up response was, okay, well, I still need you to empty it. No, sorry, I'm not doing that. It's my bin, not yours. Don't expect us to take your bins out for you in the future. Yeah, I don't remember asking anyone to do that for me anyways. When was the last time you took the bins out? Not for a while. It's not my job. I'll take my own one out when it's finally full, like this week. Bam pot. It stems probably from the fact Dee asked me a few weeks in a row to take her bins out the day before pickup due to her health not being top-notch, to which she returned the favor without me asking. She's so lovely that when she requested, I'm happy to help out. I, on the other hand, do not need the help, especially if anyone thinks they can use it as empty leverage. There is Bammy, and then there's the witch. I really do wonder what she'll get angry about next. Maybe she'll dictate where my flat should be located next time. It's probably blocking her son or some faff. People's audacity really never ceases to amaze. Because to have the nerve to say, my bin's full, I need you to empty yours so I can use it, that's insanity. Alright, story number 3 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. I can't leave my windows open ever. This one is labeled as event/rant. My husband and I bought our house 6 years ago on a hillside in the middle of farmland. It's always been quiet. Recently, the farm property across from ours in the valley sold. In the fall, they started shooting guns. All day. Every day. From 10 a.m. to 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It's every day. I don't care about guns. We own them responsibly. We go to a range. I could not imagine subjecting my neighbors to constant discharge of a firearm for hours on end. It's causing anxiety. My pets are anxious, and I spend hundreds of dollars a month on Cilio for my dogs. I've called the town, who says since it's farmland, they can shoot when they see fit. Our police won't do anything or ask them to reduce the number of days they're shooting. We don't feel comfortable asking them because when the town zoning went there, they gave them a really hard time letting them on the property. Basically said, even if we filed a formal complaint, it's a waste of our time. Yeah, I mean, realistically, there's nothing you can do. It's their property, and it's farmland, where there typically isn't a lot of restrictions, which is why a lot of people like it. You say we own guns responsibly. We go to a shooting range. Where you choose to shoot has nothing to do with your level of responsibility around the use of firearms. If it's their property, they can shoot there if they want. There's no obligation or any type of responsibility for them to go to a range. They probably wanted farmland for this reason, so they could basically set up their own range on their property. And they have every right to do so. Is it annoying? Yes, but I really think your only option is just to try to be nice neighbors. Maybe go with a plate of cookies. Cutie, you scared me to death. I didn't know you were in here. Oh. I record in the guest room, and I always keep it closed But I had the door open, and I walked away, I talked to my husband, and I came back, and the cat just popped out from under the bed. There he is again. Okay, his name's Cutie Fluffy, because he's cute and he's fluffy. My son named him, not me. Okay, back to the story. Yeah, I think the only thing that you could really do is, be polite neighbors, welcome them over with a plate of cookies if you haven't already, and just, let them know, it's a lot, like it's pretty much all day, every day, and it's causing a lot of stress and anxiety on your pets, and just see if they're understanding. If they're not, there's nothing you can do about it. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell, and it's a super short one. It is labeled as a what would you do vent rant. Any advice or tips on how to continue to enjoy your home? Oh, did I read the title? Start over. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell, and it's a super short one. This one is labeled what would you do /vent rant. Tips for coexisting with bad neighbors. Any advice or tips on how to continue to enjoy your home and outdoor areas with neighbors who you would never choose to live next to? Yes. Move. Move somewhere without neighbors. I realize that's not realistic 100% of the time, that you can just move because you don't like your neighbors, but that's all I got. Update. Thank you for the advice, everyone. We are having a fence company come out to discuss options, and we'll continue to keep our distance as best we can / ignore the best we can. Appreciate it. All right. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Am I being unreasonable? This one is labeled event rant. Oh, it's a long one. Okay. Sorry in advance, this post became way longer than I meant it to. TLDR, my neighbors are so incredibly noisy and so adamant they do nothing wrong. I'm actually starting to question if I am the unreasonable one here. Tell me if I am, or make me smile with fun revenge ideas. My wife and I made the mistake of moving to a ground floor Tyneside flat about 2.5 years ago. At the time, the upstairs flat was owned by the Swedish gentleman who we never had any issues with, save for a couple of occasions where we could hear his TV pretty loudly after midnight. We popped a polite note through his door to let him know. He then knocked on our door to apologize and explained he was partially deaf, but he had moved the TV and to let him know if it was still an issue. All grand, never heard it again, and we continued being friendly, even exchanging Christmas cards. Unfortunately, he passed away, so the flat was sold to our current neighbor from hell. There was an extended period of DIY before he fully moved in, where there was a lot of noise at odd hours. We put up with it for a while on the basis it would be temporary, but after a month we did go down the polite note route again, because either he or whatever workman he hired had a really awful habit of throwing their heavy tools on the floor, repeatedly, for hours on end. We also noticed, since buying the flat, whenever he wasn't in, there was a really weird banging noise that would go on for hours and hours. I assume it's some kind of intruder deterrent device to make it sound like someone's home. Either way, it was borderline torturous. We mentioned both in the note and said obviously we understand occasional DIY is normal and noisy, but would they just be a little more considerate putting their tools down rather than throwing them, as their floor is our ceiling? The actual owner never bothered to follow up, but I did run into his dad outside the front door. Had a nice chat with him. He seemed reasonable and said he was having soundproofing put in with the new carpet, so hopefully no issues in the future. How wrong he was. Since then, it's been almost 2 years of hell. Hearing his TV word for word, he has it so loud. He went through a phase of having his friends over to play games every single weekend for months. In that time, we were subject to hours of screaming and shouting as they played constant drumming on the floor, punching the floor whenever they lost. The cat's trying to get out. Oh, cute. I was going to let you out. There you go. I think he decided he did not like it in here. Okay, where was I? In that time, we were subject to hours of screaming and shouting as they played, constant drumming on the floor, punching the floor whenever they lost, and throwing things at each other. The one time I asked them to keep it down because I was writing an essay for uni, he didn't even apologize. He just said, "Okay," slammed the door in my face, and carried on. Thankfully, that did stop after a few months, but I assume only because he met his current girlfriend, who's even noisier than him and his pals combined. Oh boy. At first, it was tolerable because she was only there on weekends, but still not great. We were woken up multiple times by them being extremely noisy in the bedroom. If it wasn't that waking us up, it was her going outside to smoke early morning and shouting down her phone right outside our bedroom window. Of course, she didn't have an ashtray, so our section of the street was quickly covered in cigarette ends that she liked to flick directly at the other residents' parked cars. If he was working, she stayed home all day, constantly on the phone, arguing, shouting, screaming at whichever poor sod was daft enough to answer her call. And when I say constantly, I mean from 9 a.m. after he leaves for work until 5:30 to 6-ish when he comes back, she will permanently be on the phone, screaming away. Honestly, part of me was amazed she was able to scream and shout for that length of time. Now she has moved in, so what was confined to weekends only has become every single day of the week. Oh, and the two of them are also quite keen on play fighting and chasing each other around the flat, running around at full speed through all the rooms. Neither of them are slim, and I say this as someone who is morbidly obese myself, so I'm not trying to shame them. Just painting a picture of just how noisy they are when they do this. Because it literally makes our entire flat shake. The light fitting shake. We can obviously hear it. We can feel the shakes in our own floor, through the sofa, and even our internal doors shake and squeak in their frames. We have told them all the above, and their defense is they can make as much noise as they like before 11 p.m. I've told them that's not how it works. Unreasonable levels of noise can be classed as a nuisance at any time of the day, but they don't care. I've reported it to the council many times, but whenever they send the noise diary, they behave until the deadline and then start again. And the council have told me they won't take it further based on historic data I've recorded. It has to all be incidents within 1 month of the letter. I'm honestly at the end of my tether, as is my wife. We've both cried multiple times over this. It's got to the point that we now basically spend all our free time at our friends to escape the noise. We've even canceled plans to go out because we've heard them going out and we want to savor the silence while it lasts and enjoy our home. We can't even relax because we know she watches us. Once we hired someone to clean up our front area from weeds and rubbish that had built up. She was watching from her window and ran to him shouting and laughing at us because we'd hired someone to do a job we didn't fancy doing. I even came out to speak to them the next time I saw them to ask if there was an issue or if our workmen disturbed them, and they said nope, no issues at all. So I generally have no idea what we did wrong there. But I'm starting to wonder if maybe we're the unreasonable ones. We expected more noise than average living beneath someone. We're not naive. We wanted somewhere cheap to rent whilst we saved to buy, and could accept hearing normal living noises like footsteps, muffled voices, occasional arguments, the odd bang here and there, low-level noise from the TV or music, even the occasional party or gathering now and then. These are all things I would consider normal, but not this. I haven't even mentioned half the stuff we hear because this is already so long. We have friends who live in the same style flat as us with upstairs neighbors, and even they say this is way more than they ever hear from their neighbors. Our only saving grace is now we're finally in the process of buying and getting the hell out of here. But we're doing this several months earlier than planned and made things tight financially to do so. And I'm genuinely terrified of something derailing the sale and how much more I can cope with after being so close to escaping if it falls through. I think we just have to cut our losses and rent somewhere else, setting our goal to buy back at least 2 years. I'm not even sure what my point was here. Perhaps I just needed to rant. I do feel a little better now. So thanks if you made it this far. Feel free to roast me if you think I just need to buck up, or suggest fun and imaginative ways to enact revenge once we move. Oh. I mean, it seems like you've really tried anything. You've gone the neighborly route, you've gone the legal route, and none of it's working for you because they understand the system. As far as petty revenge for when you move, if there's any like open ceiling tiles or like vents or something in the ceiling, I highly recommend setting like an alarm clock in the ceiling on full blast that will automatically go off like 4 or 5 a.m. every day. That would be annoying. Maybe I don't know if you can just turn a radio on, or like, I don't know if there's like something where you could set a radio to turn on at a certain time of day and like play for a certain length of time until the battery dies. That would be cool. Or, well, you don't want to damage property. Because I was going to say you could like get shellfish or just any kind of fish and like put it in the ceiling or the vents to where like it rots, the smell circulates, and it tortures them upstairs. But that will be destructive of property and it's not the landlord's fault. So yeah, I would probably set multiple alarms like throughout the ceiling or in the vents to go off at like 4 a.m. And just, as long as the batteries last or until the landlord comes to get rid of them and finds them. Oh, but yeah, this sucks. I don't think you're the unreasonable one. This sounds incredibly excessive. Yeah, I'm glad for you that you guys are finally buying and moving, and I hope it goes through for you. All right, that is 5 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. Tried something different out with the sub Neighbors from Hell. They were good stories. I liked them, but there wasn't anything petty in any of that. So give me your feedback. Tell me what you think, if we should just avoid this sub from now on, or if we just need to mix in this sub with other subs. Let me know what you think down in the comments, what your preference is. And I will see you next week for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.